Hello, this is Nicola Wiltshire, artist and curator for In the Flesh exhibition. In this episode, the third in a series of conversations with artists, I speak to impressive sculptor Bethan Radcliffe. Bethan has 4 works in the exhibition, each pushing the material boundaries of steel. From tiny floor-based sculptures to a huge sprawling piece that combines loops, arches and hoops of steel in its many forms. Her work is colourful, playful and inspired, and it's an absolute pleasure to bring you a conversation with this modest yet ambitious artist. This conversation was recorded after gallery hours, so we met outside in a little courtyard car park that was sheltered from the North Sea wind. Therefore, I have to apologise for the seagulls cackling intermittently in the background. It's the unavoidable sound of Dundee. That's enough of an introduction from me. Let's begin. So this is the first time in this exhibition that I've ever worked with sculpture, and it's after this experience, it's totally something that I'm going to do with every exhibition now. I loved how you totally transformed the entire space. Which is something you can't do with work on the walls alone. And I'm quite interested how you came to work in sculpture as a medium as opposed to lots of other things that they teach at art school.
When I first applied to study at DJ CAD, I was like 100% convinced all I wanted to do was paint. And then in the foundation year, I remember the very first project was, I think, like Arty Bavera or something. So it wasn't even like nice sculpture, it was like ratty, rubbish in a skip, and putting 2 things together and making sculpture that way. And it was the most stressful 2 weeks I think I'd had in education, like at that point. But I think that must have been it. After that I was totally hooked, just seeing how you can make something out of nothing, that like kind of transformative. I'd not really experienced it with painting before. And then as I went through art school, it wasn't until 4th year that I really kind of started to take the welding and the metalwork seriously. So
you kind of started with like sort of maybe placing found objects together and then merged towards actual traditional ways of working, like welding and stuff like that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And I think now I'm kind of trying to take a step back and find ways of merging the two. Like my last few sculptures have been kind of like these perfectly formed, in inverted commas, but perfectly finished, like these lovely powder coated surfaces, to the point that they don't really look like steel anymore. They kind of turn into these like shiny jelly sweeties. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because they're quite bright colours as well, aren't they? Like kind of reds and blues. Really, perfectly glossy almost.
Yeah, glossy, keyword.
Yeah.
So with these sculptures, I was kind of trying to find ways to strip that back to make them look like, I don't know, rough, worn, like workable steel again.
Yeah, so you've got a few different textures in the exhibition. I think there's 4 pieces, isn't there? And they range in sizes from about 80 centimetres cubed to quite a large piece that's got many components. It's in the middle and it kind of takes up maybe 3 or 4 metres square in the centre of the room. And to me it looks like you're using copper and steel and rubber and plastic almost. I don't know, are you, or is that just steel that's treated in different ways? Because there is a kind of like a coppery coloured, textured, rusty kind of quality to a couple of them that's really lovely.
Yeah, no, it's just like old worn steel. It's all steel. I think just because I like that it's moldable, I like that I can kind of take it away and continue to alter it and transform it. And the rubber as well, I love that contrast between hard and soft. With my last 2 pieces as well, I've quite enjoyed bending the steel to make it look like it's kind of caught in this state of wobbly, will it stand, will it fall down, that caught in that moment of collapse, maybe. I'm not sure how I'd phrase it. And then having that alongside the rubber, I don't know, I like the two sitting there contrasting each other.
And the colours are incredible. Like, you must have is that from your painting background? You've got an incredible eye for working with like one colour or two colours, but they really set each other off.
Perhaps. But it's maybe also the photos I work from, like all the sculptures start with the drawing.
Okay.
As you know, and the drawings come from photos of environments like this one we're sitting in. You know, it's a bit rough around the edges, but the textures and the colours and that skip, bright yellow with the red paint against that building with the like perfectly rigid bright green windows, stuff like that. It like kind of pings in my mind.
That's worth mentioning. So we're meeting in the evening after the gallery's closed, and we're in a car park in Dundee, and there's cobbled walls and lots of industrial features everywhere. And there's a converted mill that's kind of been quite architecturally updated with slick kind of grey lines and green lines, and sort of industrial bins in the same colours that you use. And this is actually probably the best place we could have met.
Probably.
Yeah. So yeah, because I saw on Instagram you did a post, and it was kind of photos of buildings and stop signs, and you kind of reduced those down.
Mm-hmm.
The signs down to circles, and then turn that into a steel ring and stuff like that. Is that how you always kind of create a sculpture?
Yeah, it's always started with something I've seen or something I've documented in a photo, or if I've been like sitting on a bus and you drive past like a lovely derelict, I don't know, old bus stop, just do a little pencil, get a couple of lines down, and then those are what I take away and turn into the sculptures. And the colours as well. I think it's a colour of colours that make me notice the shapes. Like, to look at where we are again, see over there are some lovely wheelie bins here. See the yellow and the blue, and then they're like, oh, look behind it, what are they called, bikes, the bike lock on the wall.
Yeah.
Those kind of looping, folding steel, that's so nice.
Right.
And I pick that up, I take it away and kind of isolate it. And see how it could play against, I don't know, a different environment, sitting in a gallery, or what happens if I took the shape of the bike lock and that plank of wood behind it, but squeeze the two together. And then when you say about the drawings, that kind of taking all these little elements, drawing, playing these forms against each other until I kind of happen on something. I think, I'd like to see what kind of space that creates again.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's really good fun.
So is it really kind of, I don't know if the word is aesthetic, but is it purely about form and shape and colour for you, or is there like some sort of personal relationship you want to kind of replicate the place that you were in, or does that not matter at all?
Not so much about the place. I think for me, at the moment at least, it is just about playing with this amazing industrial material. I just love like working with metal. It's just so much fun, like how something so solid and dirty and could say like inherently male, if you think about it in like an industrial sense, and turning it into this like beautiful, to me, soft, supple, something you kind of want to run your fingers down. It sounds quite sensual.
No, well, it kind of is, because actually the first time I saw your sculptures, and that's what I stored in my head, because you had a drawing and Little Originals exhibition, and then when I was kind of getting to know your work, I was looking at your Instagram, and you had some previous sculptures, and they were those kind of steel, it was almost like a drawn line of a sort of a very curved wavy line that goes up and down, maybe 6 foot high, just a sort of freestanding wiggle, and then in these really beautiful ceramic, like you had some in sort of gallery settings, but there's one recently that's by a lake edge, is that right, or something?
Yeah, the piece I made when I was doing a residency at the sculpture workshop just after I graduated, that piece, it got taken away to the west coast. There's a sculpture park called Caolrú, I think is how you pronounce it. It's spelled Caolruadh. or something of that. And it's this amazing woman with this amazing house and these amazing grounds. She just kind of turns her garden into a sculpture park.
Wow.
A few months in the summer. Colruyt, so lovely. And that's where those photos were taken.
Right. So that's someone's garden. That's beautiful. And is it a river or is it a lake or is it like a...
It's a sea, I think.
Oh,
it's right over on the west coast.
So is that something that you like to see? I know you've said that to me previously. So they're steel, and I was asking you, should we put a tape around this so no one goes near it and stuff like that for the gallery? And you were like oh no, I like getting them outside, letting them weather, I like seeing them bend over, I like people walking around them. So yeah, do you specifically like them being outside, or are you just kind of open to anything?
I think so. I think I prefer the thought of them being outside purely because it's like a gallery environment is quite sterile. Yeah. Which is lovely in that you can erect something and it'll sit there and exist exactly how you intend it to. But I quite like to see, it's such a long process from seeing the shapes to making the drawings to building the objects. For that to kind of be paused when it sits in a gallery, it doesn't excite me as much as the thought of them sitting outside and getting caught by the wind, or, I don't know, discovered by birds, you know what I mean?
Oh, really? And what about somewhere like this, like a back corner of a car park? Would you like that, or does it have to be kind of a grand...
Oh, not at all. Like the less unassuming, the better. I think the favourite photos I've taken of my sculptures was my degree show work. I took it out for a day. It was absolutely huge. I totally did not think ahead to how I was gonna transport this piece at all. Every piece since I've made to fit specifically in the back of a van or the back of a car. But these pieces were huge, and the only way I could move them was in a big Luton van, a huge box van.
They're horrible to drive.
Yeah, horrible to drive. Expensive.
Yeah.
So I rented a van for the day and I took them at a DJ card, and I was thinking of going up to Templeton Woods or Camperdown Park and kind of sitting them in the grass. But the landscapes and the trees were so huge, it just totally dwarfed them.
Wow.
And they were great photos, but they weren't really exciting me. And our time was running out in the van hire. It's like, shit, gotta get a good photo. And then there's one we're heading back from Templeton Woods. Do you know what the Cineworld is?
Yes.
Yeah. That as you drive into the car park, you turn left, and on the right you've got that random bit of car park kind of tucked away in the corner. People go there to I don't know, smoke weed. It's kind of neglected and overlooked. It's oh, that's it. That's the spot.
Wow.
I'll show you some photos after we finish if you like. But it looks great, with the cracked asphalt and the patched pavements.
Cool.
It's lovely.
And does it blend in too much, or does it look like art in that situation?
To me, it looks like art. Yeah, they stand out because of they're so brightly coloured. Yeah. So I'm not sure how that would work with these pieces, where I've tried to kind of strip them back and leave them a bit, leave them so you can...
But I think they're so intentional that, they would...
True, yeah,
kind
totally.
of scream art, wouldn't they? In the corner.
Aggressively.
Yeah, aggressive art. Yeah, oh, brilliant.
Actually, I can't even remember what I was saying about the finish of them. And, they sit in a gallery, and that's kind of the timeline, lifespan paused. I can't remember how I phrased it. But wanting to see more of the steel, I think because I like the thought of being able to take them further and keep working with them, maybe remove elements or tack more elements on, once they're powder coated. It's such a lovely finish. I don't want to go in, grind a little bit off to maybe add an extra foot or an extra arm or another kind of swooping form. And not that I think I would with these pieces, continue to
work and
play and regenerate them, if that's the right word. But I like that, if it needs to happen one day, I've got that easy access to the the bare bones of it.
Yeah, no, I like that because I guess they're assembled from components that you kind of bring to put together in the gallery. So why not add where two bits join? Why not add something in between?
Why not keep going?
Yeah. Oh,
when
cool.
does it stop?
Yeah.
Will it end?
Yeah, I like that. No, I find your work so exciting. And when I left after the install, I love everyone's work in the exhibition, and I'm really like pleased with how everything came together so easily. Like, but yours, I was just like, wow, this is if you're gonna do something about being in the flesh, that's just something, because the shadows and the curves and you have these kind of loops, and through them, depending where you're standing, it kind of frames different paintings on the walls, and it's such an amazing experience.
Yeah, and it's fun, like having to kind of duck and weave and see what you can see. But that's just like goes to show how well you created everything on the walls. Like, you did a really good job of it. Oh, it looks amazing.
But yeah, no, it was a good. So we started. Bethan came in before I installed, and then I worked to the sculptures. So it was a definite kind of. Sorry, we just got a car as we're in a car park. It was a definite collaboration there. So you mentioned that you did a residency at the Scottish Sculpture Workshop.
The Edinburgh Sculpture Workshop.
Edinburgh Sculpture Workshop. And I know that obviously there's a lot of things that you do, like welding and things like that really are quite impossible to do at home. Do you find your chosen medium, has any limitations in that? So I'm a painter and I can pretty much paint anywhere. Are there limitations, or do you kind of adapt to the limitations at all?
I think, 100%. Up until recently, I've just moved into a house in Cooper, which has a garage, and it's amazing all of a sudden being able to walk down to the space and tack a few things together. But it's taken me, almost 5 years from graduating to reach that point. Weighing up, wanting to make work with even just the cost of living. If you're trying to get down to Edinburgh to use the ESW's facilities, they're incredible, and it's a brilliant space to have access to, but it's driving there and the renting the equipment, those kinds of costs.
So I suppose it's not as spontaneous as perhaps working at home, you have to maybe book ahead, and then obviously you have to drive about an hour to Edinburgh and pay. So I suppose if you've paid out for the machinery, you kind of really want to make sure that you're going to create something worthwhile, and maybe 100%. With a purpose and not just sort of playful.
And that kind of pressure as well, because everything you've just said, you've invested in spending that time making this thing. You want to see some kind of result, and that's not really how I like to work, with that pressure kind of on my back. Which I think is what sets this work apart, the past few pieces I've made, where it's been I've taken the drawings and I made smaller maquettes to kind of, to work out scale maybe. Once I've made the maquettes, I kind of start to lose interest, because in my mind, that form, that shape, that sculpture's kind of found its resolution, and then to have to keep going and scale it up, it's exciting and it's a lovely process, but it doesn't excite me as much as these pieces. I'd be make this hoop, hold it there, yeah, that looks good, tack it together, go away for an hour, come back, see it new. A much more spontaneous way of making. I much prefer.
And is that because of lockdown you didn't have access to things like that? I think, did you not make some of these in your garden by just hand pulling a lot of the steel?
Yeah, that's right. It's all hand bent. It's all quite thin, flat bar, round bar, or the bigger, chunkier stuff. It's piped with quite thin walls, so it's all quite malleable. But all just made in the garden, which is lovely.
Yeah, and it's very instant and intuitive, maybe.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say.
It comes across. Definitely does. Is there anything else that intrigues you about steel and kind of attracts you to working with it?
I think as a woman, I find that there's something really powerful about being a woman in these industrial spaces. like when you asked about I don't know, challenges about finding access to equipment, I remember after graduating, I visited some fabricators around where I lived, and not one of them was keen on giving me, 5 minutes in a corner or half an hour a week, just kind of tacking bits together. I went away to the Dundee and Angus College and I did an evening course just to get like a certificate, a piece of paper, so I could go into these places and show like I am capable and I have these skills. And
because you were capable with welding, but you had no qualification.
Well, yeah, and without somebody giving me the time to come in and kind of prove that I have these skills, so kind of I went away and I got this piece of paper, but still, like in this college, being the only woman in the room.
So that wasn't a fine art welding course, that was an actual kind of mechanical welding?
Yeah, industry standard.
Oh, wow.
Which was great fun. Like, I learned so much.
Yeah.
When I was making my degree showpieces, it wasn't me and the technician at the time. It was me and an artist called Ulrika. I can't pronounce her last name, but she's such a lovely person. It was me and her making my degree show sculptures, and it wasn't until after the fact I realised how powerful that is, like 2 women in a metal workshop. There was a moment again at the sculpture workshop. There was a girl doing the same residency alongside me. She's called Amelia Tan. She's a performance artist, also so lovely. And there was one morning we were in the metal workshop and this primary school class comes in, I think as part of the ESW schools programme. And they came in, kind of saw the equipment, said hello to us, and then went on with their day. And it was afterwards, Amelia turns to me and she goes, what a great image for them to see, like 2 young women using these pieces of equipment, making these, welding, whatever, totally competently. Like, where else are they going to see that at this point in their lives? I can't really find the point I'm trying to make, but do you
I
kind of understand?
Yeah.
It's just something powerful about working with metal.
Yeah, it's something that you want to do and there's nothing in your way of doing it. Maybe in the past people would have been, oh no, I'm not allowed to work like that because I'm a woman, and maybe people would have discouraged you from working that way as well.
Yeah, 100%. And even like going around these fabricators, like 2 years ago, not even that long ago, you get turned away so many times, you kind of start to think like, should it be this hard? Like, why is it this hard? But I don't know, it just makes you want to keep going with it even more. There's so many reasons why I love metal.
Yeah, and actually, I suppose traditionally, industrial, it's masculine perhaps, but actually it's not. The way you treat it is in a loving way that maybe is perhaps more traditionally feminine, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it's an interesting balance.
No,
perhaps if you were approaching your work using textiles or something, it wouldn't have that same power to it, because you're working between those 2 areas and finding a balance between them.
Well said.
Oh, it's brilliant.
We found a point in that.
No, there is always a point, and I find everything fascinating because you're obviously a very thoughtful artist, and you work inside your head and on your own, and I just really wanted to find all this stuff out, so there's nothing wrong you could ever say at all.
It's so lovely.
So shall we move on to a few little quick questions at the end? So we've kind of touched on this already, but I was just wondering your dream location to install your work.
Oh, I'm going to take a minute to think about this one.
Yeah, please do.
It's got to be somewhere like gritty and dirty. I'm kind of tempted to say like exactly where we're sitting right now.
Oh, really?
I feel like I should be thinking bigger. That's what I've kind of thought about since we've sat here. There are so many lovely.
You're just really inspired at the moment.
Yeah. I'm sure there are other lovely dirty car parks in the world.
Yeah, some like LA or something. Or...
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Back into Hollywood. Why not?
Would going big be then the dream aspect of that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's a good point. I've been trying to make my work a bit more stable. Like the last few pieces, I like how they kind of bend and sway and move, but there's always like a little voice in the back of my mind, like what if it falls down? They can't get back up. So all the pieces in this exhibition, they're centered quite low to the ground.
Yeah.
But say like the big red piece, the Line Loop Hoop from the ESW, it's all these lovely, wiggly, flowing, spiraling lines up in the air. And I love that you can kind of crouch down and see it against the sky, and stand up and see it against the ground, and see the lines, and playing with all these different parts of the environment.
Very dynamic way of working in that sense. And is that about 10 feet high, is it? Or not quite at all?
Not even. It's as tall as me. They're all kind of scaled to my body. I find that's a nice way to work.
Yeah.
I think the pieces in this exhibition, they're also kind of knee height. I'm not sure how tall I am. I think under 6 foot.
Yeah.
I'm quite a tall woman.
Yeah, you are quite tall.
But making something big, like cementing it in the ground, nothing's falling over. You can have everything in the air.
Yeah.
I like to do that one day.
So maybe working up walls and potentially. Yeah, you should. I feel like we should ask the city council if you can do some amazing exhibition, because this is a really beautiful courtyard, and we're kind of surrounded by 20-foot walls, and there's a big church, Catholic church behind us with stained glass, and some of your bright colours in here would look incredible.
Yeah, keep the skip.
Yeah, keep the skip. Yeah, with the bikes parked up next to it. Obviously, we're not in the exhibition right now, but do you have a favourite piece that's in the exhibition, if you can cast your mind back?
I think my favourite piece is No Parking. The one, it sits quite low to the ground. It's based off of a drawing of a no parking sign, a circle with the swooping, slashing line through it. Kind of pulled apart and stretched out.
If I can remember, it's a series of kind of almost like a few rings together that almost like curve, almost like a shell or something, like a ribbon curling in on itself. And if you stand far back, you can see it's a circle, but I guess up close there's changing shapes. There's an orange line through it. Yeah, why did you go with orange?
I think it's the colour of the cone that the no parking sign was stuck on, like a sticker on a parking cone. It was lovely.
Oh wow!
And then there's one point I think you can crouch, and all the rings, because one of the rings is a piece of round bar, and the other one it's a loop on a piece of flat section. So playing with stretching these shapes. And then there's one point you can crouch and they all kind of condense into one almost flat image, and then you'll stand up and walk around and they're kind of springing apart again. I don't know, I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic to walk around. And it takes the shadow, because it's such there's so many strong shapes, and they create shadows that almost from far away look like steel as well.
Yeah. That as well, being so low to the ground, like the shadows are so crisp. It's lovely.
So that's something that you're aware of when you're making it.
But that kind of working spontaneously in the garage, the only good light is this like motion activated spotlight in the corner. So I kind of stand up, it'll flick on, and you see them instantly sit on the ground. Lovely shadows.
Yeah, excellent. What does the exhibition title mean to you, if anything? So it's in the flesh.
And I think everything you said before is just about getting up close and personal with objects and surfaces, engaging with them, getting close to them, interacting with them. 100%.
And that's particularly important for your work, because you could never. The photos of them aren't the same. There's nothing like the experience of walking amongst them.
Yeah, being in their presence. I agree. that, like, the contrast again, the hard and soft, and the fluid and the immovable shapes. Seeing them all come together, I think you can only really see that in person.
So last question, where do you see your work going?
Oh, in a physical sense. I can't wait to see it. In a car park.
In a car park? You can't wait to see it in a car park?
Literally, it's been so lovely seeing it in that, like, lovely, clean gallery environment, and then with all the other amazing work on the walls as well. Like, there's so much for it to interact with. But I can't wait to kind of what's the word when you take something, liberate it.
Yes.
Liberate it from the gallery.
Yeah.
Take it on the road.
So perhaps you will, like, go driving around and take a few pictures in different places.
I think, yeah, that would be the plan.
That's cool.
See what's out there.
So just see you in this car park after the exhibition takedown.
Definitely.
So if only I'd have picked somewhere a bit more glamorous to do this, then you might have been inspired to achieve greater things.
Nah, this will do me.
Yeah.
I'll be happy in my corner. But in a I don't know, in terms of future work, I've got a bank of photos on my phone of everything I think I've said in the last half hour. Dirty corners, random bits of metal. The piece of steel for Untitled.
Parked. Yeah, Untitled Parked. The red semicircle. It's sort of a D shape.
No, the rusty loop with the little yellow.
Oh yes.
I can't think of anything.
It's because we're not there in front of it, so we have to really focus. Yeah.
Visual memories.
Yeah.
That piece. I found the steel in a hedge. I was out walking the dogs, and I caught it out the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh, you're coming home with me. So got lots of images of objects like that, and some pieces I've collected. What's happening next? So just go see what wants to
come together.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
And it, like, for the first time in a very long time, I think having the opportunity to walk out into my garage and make work instantly, there are just so many things I want to make. I can't wait.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's a perfect place to leave it. So thank you so much. I always feel a bit intimidated by sculpture, but working with you has really changed that. So thank you for helping clarify a few things as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I don't think I'll ever look at a skip, wheelie bin or a bright look in the same way again. If you want to have a look at some of the images that we spoke about Bethan's process and her installations, then head to her Instagram at Bethan_Radcliffe. And I strongly recommend trying to see her work in person, or perhaps even investing in a piece to get to know it properly. If you want to see more of my work, my website is www.nicolawiltshire.com, or I'm Nicola_Wiltshire on Instagram. I'm hoping to slide in another of these conversations before the end of the exhibition, so stay tuned for the next episode. Have a lovely day and chat to you soon.